participation. Central to the gathering was the launch of a new book, Nigeria's Aborted Third Republic and the June 13 Debacle, Reporter's Account, which offers in-depth reportage and reflection on one of Nigeria's most significant political turning points. Speakers at the event emphasized the enduring significance of the June 12, 1993 presidential election, widely regarded as the freest and fairest in the country's history. Many called for the re-adoption of the Option A4 voting system, credited for promoting openness and eliminating electoral manipulation at the grassroots level. As Nigeria marks the 32nd anniversary of that historic vote, there is growing consensus among stakeholders that reforming the electoral process in the spirit of Option A4 could help restore public confidence and deepen democratic governance. This renewed focus on June 12 is not just about honoring the past, it is about shaping the future. Abuja, Nigeria, former Director of Public Affairs at the defunct National Electoral Commission, Professor Tony Iredia, has raised serious concerns over the growing trend of political defections ahead of Nigeria's 2027 general elections, describing it as a threat to democratic stability and an affront to the principle of federalism. Speaking at a recent political lecture in Abuja, Professor Iredia criticized politicians who abandoned their parties under the guise of collaboration, asserting that such actions reflect a poor understanding of collaborative federalism, which encourages inter-party cooperation without compromising ideological consistency.
When somebody now decides to collaborate with another person and he tells me that the only way he can do it is to defect to the party of the other person, then something is wrong. It means we don't recognize collaborative federalism, which we ought to.
Drawing a sharp analogy, Iredia likened defecting governors to nomadic herdsmen, accusing them of political recklessness and lack of direction. The remarks sparked strong reactions among political observers, many of whom see the comments as a bold indictment of the political elite's lack of ideological discipline. Professor Iredia's statements contribute to a broader national conversation on electoral reform, party loyalty, and the future of Nigeria's democratic institutions.
Exactly the same. And the reason is this. You see, herdsmen, they move about and destroy people's crops. And when you talk to them, they say, oh, I have freedom of movement.
Former Minister of Information, Labaran Maku, paid tribute to the late MKO Abiola, describing him as a sacrificial lamb in Nigeria's democratic struggle. Maku emphasized that the political elite of the time embarked on a process they neither fully understood nor anticipated. He warned that democracy is not self-sustaining. It must be protected, nurtured, and defended at every stage. Democracy is not something you go to bed and sleep, he said. It is a process. We must keep fighting for it and insist on what is right, or risk seeing it fail again. A sobering reminder that the gains of June 12 remain fragile and must never be taken for granted.
Democracy must be defended. It is not something you go to bed and sleep. It is a process. We must keep fighting for it and insist on what is right at all stages. Otherwise, it can still fail.
Registrar of Babcock University, Professor Abiodun, has called for a bold reform of Nigeria's legislative structure, proposing a shift from a bicameral to a unicameral legislature as a cost-saving measure. According to him, simply replacing lawmakers without addressing systemic inefficiencies will not resolve the persistent over-reliance on public funds. If you replace this set of legislature and bring another set, you'll still find the same tendency to rely on public funds, he noted. Professor Abiodun challenged policymakers to rethink the current system. Is there no way we can adopt a unicameral legislature instead of a bicameral one, so we can reduce the cost of governance? His remarks add momentum to ongoing debates around restructuring and the urgent need to streamline Nigeria's democratic institutions.
If you replace this set of legislature and bring another set, you still find this tendency to rely on the public funds, as the case could be. So how are we going to checkmate this cycle from continuing? Is there no way that we can adopt a unicameral legislature as against a bicameral, so that we can reduce the cost of governance?
Chief Executive Officer of the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, Tunji Bello, has urged the media to reclaim its role as a watchdog in Nigeria's democracy. Speaking at the annual lecture of the National Association of Political Correspondents, Bello warned that journalism is under pressure and called on professionals to stand firm in defense of their duty. Our profession is facing a lot of distress, he said. It's high time we rise up to the challenge and defend our territory. Reflecting on the legacy of June 12, Bello reminded the audience of a time when Nigerians looked beyond ethnicity and religion in choosing their leaders. Part of the lesson we must never forget is that once upon a time, this country overcame ethnic and religious divides in politics, a powerful call not just for remembrance but for renewed responsibility.
Our profession is facing a lot of distress. So it's high time we rise up to the challenge and defend our territory. So I believe part of the lesson we should always remember June 12 for is the fact that once upon a time, long before now, country had overcome ethnicity and religion in our politics.
Political scientist and professor at Nasarawa State University, Jideofor Adibe, commended the Option A4 electoral system, describing it as one of Nigeria's most transparent democratic innovations. He asserted that history will vindicate Professor Humphrey Wosu, recognizing his pivotal role in shaping a credible and accountable electoral process. Adibe's remarks echoed a broader sentiment that reclaiming Nigeria's democratic integrity begins by honoring those who laid its foundation.
I want to urge all of us who have come here and to sustain this spirit and continue to work in our respective ways to ensure that June 12th is immortalized in the annals of our history, and the man whose vision it was is remembered constantly.
Whether he's going to be honored now or never is immaterial. The most important place to honor anybody is in the hearts of people.
As Nigeria reflects on the enduring legacy of June 12 and the principles that once shaped a truly democratic process, the call for electoral reform grows louder and more urgent. Visionaries like Professor Humphrey Wosu remind us that the path to credible elections begins with integrity, courage, and a commitment to transparency. If you found this report insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Television Nigerian for more stories that matter to Nigeria's future. Together, let's keep the spirit of democracy alive.